This After Effects tutorial is sponsored by Broxu. Hey everyone, in this After Effects tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a HUD logo animation inside of After Effects without using any plugins. It's going to be a little bit of longer tutorial than usual because we will be covering a lot of different techniques and steps. Maybe grab a coffee or something and enjoy. So without any further ado, let's jump into After Effects and get started. Alright guys, so here we are in After Effects. Let's start by creating a new composition. I'm gonna keep it 2560 into 1440, that is 2K. You can of course go with 4K or 1920 by 1080 if you want to. 60 FPS and 10 seconds long. Let's rename this and call this main, as this is our main composition. Then I can select the shape layer tool, select the ellipse tool. We need a stroke of around 25 pixels. We don't need any fill, so I can just click on this fill icon and just set this to none, hit OK. And then I can double click on the ellipse tool to create an ellipse. Now as you can see, it's not a proper circle, so I can go into ellipse path, hold Alt and double click on this link icon. So it's going to create a perfect circle and bring down the size to around 800. Should be good enough. For the color, I'm going to go with a nice kind of a grayish color. That looks good. Then I can go into the stroke. Let's make some room right over here and set the line cap to rounded cap. Then I can click right over here in the add option and let's add a trim path. So let's add that, and then basically we can animate the trim path just like so. I can hit Ctrl Shift H to hide the control layer so we can just see the shape. So let's go to around 2 seconds and set the end property all the way up to 100. Create a keyframe on the end and the offset. Go back at the very start, set this to 0 and bring down the offset to -180. So we have this very nice animation. Now at the moment it is pretty simple and looking boring, so to make it a bit more interesting, so I can select all the keyframe, right click, go to keyframe assistance and easy ease them, or you can hit F9 on the keyboard. Go into the graph editor and then I'm going to create kind of a peak into the center. Now you can of course do this manually using this handles, just like that, but for this kind of task I like to use a free script, that is the keyframe wingman, which comes with Animation Composer. So it's absolutely free. I have mentioned the link in the description below and you can go ahead and download and install it. So all we have to do is select the points, which are basically the keyframe, and then you can tweak it from right over here. So it makes this very handy to use and intuitive as well. So as you can see, looks pretty cool. I can set this to around 80%. Let's see our animation now. Yep, that is what I am going for. But one issue that I have faced during this animation is when I go to 1 second, you can see we get this kind of a stroke which intersect with each other. I don't know why it happens. If you guys know about it, do let me know a solution in the comment section below. So the solution that I found out to be working is, let's set this to -91, is that, just offsetting it by 1 degree, and that is gonna fix that. So if you guys know any other solution to this issue, do let me know in the comment section below. So we have this very nice and simple animation. Let's go to 3 seconds and I'm going to select the ellipse 1, go into ellipse path 1, create a keyframe on the size and then go to 4 seconds and set this to 0. So we have a basic out animation. So again, I can select the keyframes and right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, or I can just hit Ctrl Z, select the keyframes and click on this icon. So it's gonna add the same animation on the out as well. Pretty cool, but I want a different animation, right? So I'm gonna select the keyframes and then I can right click, go to keyframe assistant, easy ease, go into the graph editor, Now again, if I want to, manipulate the graph, I can select the points and, tweak it from right over here as well, just like so. And now we can see we have a really nice out animation as well. So I can select the point again. Let's set this to 10 and 100, and that should look good. Pretty nice. So there we have a really nice stroke animation. Now, before I proceed further with this tutorial, I would like to take a minute and talk about our today's sponsor, Broxu. If you have been looking for an easy and creative way to make your YouTube videos professional and impressive, then make sure to check out the YouTube pack from Broxu. It is a professionally designed After Effects template with absolutely everything that you will need to create cool looking and dynamically animated videos for your YouTube channel. This template contains intros, bumpers, titles, lower thirds, comments animation, likes and subscribe animation, end screen transition, and so much more. You can use this pack for your YouTube videos, for your commercial projects, and also on your social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and others. For more information, make sure to check out the link in the description below. Now let's move ahead. So I'll select the layer. Let's rename this to C_01, that is circle_01. You can of course rename it to anything that you want. So I'm going to select this, hit Control D to duplicate it. Then on the second layer, let's move this a bit forward in time. Let's hit U 2 times to reveal all the properties. I'm going to bring down the size. So let's move right over here at this keyframe and let's bring down the size a bit. Also for the stroke size, I'm going to set this to 15. And for the color, I can keep it any color that I want because I will be adding an effect or a ramp called gradient ramp. Double click to apply that up. You can hit Control Shift H so we can see the control layers again. Let's move this one right here. And I'm going to add a nice yellow orange combination. You can of course use any of your favorite colors that you want. Keep it really nice. So that is looking pretty nice. All right, we can also add some glow to this. So let's type in glow in the effects and preset panel and let's drag and drop it, or you can simply double click it as well. Then I'll bring down the glow threshold to around 55%. Let's increase the radius so we get this really nice glow. As you can see, looking pretty nice. Maybe it's a bit too yellow. I'll make it a bit on the orangish side, just like so. So that is looking pretty nice, and we also have the animation. Now to display this, I can just simply select it, hit R, and rotate this a bit in a different direction so we have a different look to our reveal. Also, I can hit Control Y to create a new solid called this BG and add it to the background. We can go ahead and add a fill on this. Double click, and I'm gonna give it a dark purplish color. I don't want to keep it like a completely black color, so something like that. So we have a darker background, so that looks good. Maybe we can displace this a bit, so I'll just move this maybe 10 frames forward in time. So we have this really nice out animation as well with this. Okay, now you can go ahead and create multiple different copies of this to make the scene even more complex. I'm going to do this one more time again. So hit Control D. We don't need any gradient ramp on this, so I'm going to delete that. We don't need any glow on this as well. Let's set the stroke to around maybe 3 pixels. And let's also displace this by 10 frames. So I'll set this to around 20 frame. Page down to jump 1 frame forward, or you can also hit Shift page down to jump directly 10 frames forward in time. So you can see we get this really interesting look. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this layer, hit U 2 times to reveal the properties. Let's jump right over here and let's increase the size a bit, and maybe I'll increase the size of this one as well. So let's go right over here and increase this a bit. Okay, so that is looking pretty nice. Maybe I'll rotate this a little. So hit R and you can just rotate this in a different direction, so it starts from a different angle, and altogether it's looking very, very nice. Maybe I'll increase the size a bit more. All right, that is looking pretty nice. Now let's select the C2 layer, that is the gradient ramp layer. Again, hit Control D, put this right over here, hit U two times to reveal all the properties. Let's move the time indicator to this keyframe, and let's increase the size a bit and bring down the stroke to 5. And then let's jump into the stroke properties and click on this plus icon, which is going to add some nice dashes. As you can see, now I can play around with this and keep it the way I want it to look. So I'm going to increase this really high. I just want 4 to 5 dashes, maybe just like something like that. So now we get this really interesting look. As you can see, obviously I'm going to rotate this again, so select the layer, hit R, and rotate this in a different direction, probably something like that. So we have this really nice look. All right, so I'm going to select the third layer, that is the white stroke that we have right over here. I'm going to select this, hit Control D. Let's place this on the top, and I can change the color to maybe something like a yellow, so we know that it's a different section of our animation. I can hit U two times to reveal all the properties, bring down the size just like so. Also, I'm gonna change this color, make it kind of gray to bring down basically the luminance. So I'm going to select this, hit Control D again, hit U again. Make sure your time indicator is on this keyframe, if not your animation could mess up. So again, I'm going to bring this down, something like that. And this time I'm going to select the nice orange color that we have. And let's jump to 1 second, and let's move these two layers to start from right over here. As you can see, again, I can select one of the layer, hit R, and rotate this in a different direction, maybe something like that. So it looks pretty sick. Now the out animation, I want every out animation at the same time. So to do that, I can just select the first layer, hit U, so we can see just the keyframe. Then I can select these two layers, hit U, and then let's go maybe around 3 seconds and 30 frames. Let's pull these two keyframes just like so. So we have everything ending up almost at the same time. So let's make them end at 4 seconds. Let's see how it looks. Yep, that is looking pretty nice. Maybe I'll select this third one as well. That is the thin white stroke that we have, and I'm going to make this end at 4 seconds. Yep, that is looking pretty good. Now, one thing that I don't like about this stroke is that this one that we have on the outer side, that is this 4 dashes, I don't like the way it animates in. So we can add a different animation to that. So I'll select Control A. Let's close them up. So I guess this was the 4th stroke that we added. Yep, hit U, and let's get rid of these two keyframes. And I'm going to go to 3 seconds. Let's hit T to bring up the opacity. Create a keyframe, hold Alt and Control at the same time, and click on this keyframe, which is basically going to create a whole keyframe. So I'll jump 2 frames forward by hitting page down 2 times and set the opacity to 0. Then again, I'm going to hit page down 2 times, set the opacity to 100. And basically I can just copy paste these two keyframes again. So let's select this, hit Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. Perfect. And finally to 0. So we have a nice kind of a flicker animation. As you can see, maybe a bit of size animation could work wonders with this, or scale animation. So I'm going to add a scale animation. Let's go right here and set this to around 70. Select this keyframes, right click, keyframe assistant, easy, you can hit F9 again. Now I have set my F9 command for a different, I have given a different command for my F9 key. That is the reason I'm not using it. So yep, that is looking pretty nice. Maybe I'll move the opacity animation a bit forward in time. We can hit U. Let's select this keyframe. Yep, that is looking much better. Now I can select this circle that we have. Or let's select circle 5, that is this one, and hit Control D to duplicate it. Let's put it on the top, and we can change this color to maybe a red color. Hit U 2 times to reveal the size. Let's go right over here, or I can actually delete this keyframes. We don't need that anymore. I'm going to increase the size just like so, and let's create few copies of this. So hit Control D again, hit U 2 times, and then let's scale the size. Let's create one more copy, hit Control D, hit U 2 times, and just bring that up like so. That is looking pretty nice. Now one thing that I'm going to do is select this shape layer, hit T, bring down the opacity to 50%. Then select the second one, bring down the opacity to 25%, and the third one, bring that down to 10%. So we have this very nice look. Maybe 10% is a bit too much, so let's set this to 20, and let's set this to 30. Okay, that is looking good. Maybe I'll increase this to 60. Do Shift H. So right now we have this very nice animation, as you can see. Again, you know the trick. So I'm going to hit Shift Page down to jump 10 frame forward. Let's move this to 10 frames. Again, hit Shift Page down, and I'm going to hold Shift so that it snaps into the time indicator, and we have this really nice stroke animation. Again, I can select them, hit R, and rotate them in a different, give them a different rotation value maybe. So again, I can just rotate this like so. So we have this very nice look. And finally, at 3 seconds, I'm gonna select these 3 layers. Let's type in size so that we can just see the size property of these 3 layers. Let's create a keyframe on them. Go to 4 seconds and scale them up out of the frame. So I'm gonna scale that out first of all. Hit Control Shift H so we can see the control layers. Let's scale that out, and then scale this one. So basically we have something like this. Pretty nice. Maybe bring up the timing a bit. So select the keyframes again, right click, keyframe assistance, easy ease, or you can just click on this keyframe wingman that we have. So we have this very nice reveal, as you can see. Maybe it's a bit too slow. Let's bring them a bit closer. Yep, there you go. You can see this is looking pretty nice. So far so good. Now I'm going to create that dotted shockwave kind of a thing that you saw. Not a shockwave, actually it's kind of a reveal, you can call it. So to do that, let's create a new composition. Call this let's call this dots. Let's select the ellipse tool, double click to create an ellipse. We don't need any stroke, we just need the fill. I'm going to go into ellipse 1, ellipse path 1, hold alt and click on the link icon. Let's set this to 5 pixels. That is very small. Let's call this dot. And then what I'm going to do is go into this add property. Let's add a repeater to this. Let's set the repeater copies to around 150, and we can basically just offset them just like so. Let's add one more repeater. Oh, before actually adding the repeater 2, let's go into transform repeater 1, and in the position I can bring them a bit closer. Maybe let's set this to around 50, and I can just play around with the offset. And then in the repeater 2, I'm gonna increase the size to around 100. Go into transform repeater, set the position to 0, and let's increase the height. Well, let's set this to actually 50, so we get a perfect grid. Select this dot, hit P, and let's place this in the position that we want, or something like so. All right, so there we go. There we have our grid of dots. Now I can select this, hit Control Shift C. Let's call this .com. That sounds good. Hit OK. Then again create an ellipse. This time we just need the stroke. I'm going to make the stroke white, and let's set this to around 500. We don't need any fill. And also I can go in the ellipse 1, ellipse path 1, make it a perfect circle, and basically I'm going to animate this. Maybe 500 is a bit too much. Let's go with 400. Alright, so let's go to 2 seconds and animate our circle. Let's call this circle. Let's bring that out of the frame completely, create a keyframe, go back and set this to really small. Let's set this to 0 actually, but when it starts from 0, you get this kind of a flicker, and which I don't really like. So I can go right here, go into the stroke, create a keyframe on the stroke width, go back, and let's set this to around 100. So we still have the flicker, but it's very small, so it won't be noticeable. So as you can see, this is looking good. Maybe increase the stroke size to 500 and also pull that out of the frame. So I can select the keyframes, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Let's go into the graph editor this time, and what I'm going to do is select and drag this point just like so. So we have this very nice kind of a bursting effect. As you can see, looks pretty good. Then I can go into effects and preset and add a fast blur on this. Let's increase the blur really high, maybe something like that, around 300, or maybe let's go 250. 300 is a bit too much. Also, I'm gonna hit Control Y to add a background. Make sure it's black because we will be using this as a track matte. So I'm gonna select both of these layers, hit Control Shift C, call this matte, and turn on the dot comp. Let's hit F4 to bring up the track matte option and set the track matte to Luma matte, and bam, there we have a nice shockwave. As you can see, now I think it's a bit too fast, so what I can do is jump into the matte, select the circle, hit U, and let's pull this up to 3 seconds. Yep, that is looking much better. Let's go back into our main comp and drag and drop it. Let's make some room right here. Let's drag and drop in the matte. Let's drag and drop in the dots comp just like so. So we have this really nice reveal. Now I'm going to place it into the position that I want. So I want it to be right over here. So there we go. We can just copy paste the same gradient that we have. Control C and Control V to paste it. But one thing that I want to do is set the gradient to radial ramp. Place this right here and this one just right over here. So we have this very nice shockwave, and finally I can add my logo. So we can create a new composition. Let's unlink this, go with 500 by 500 and call this logo comp. Hit OK, drag and drop in any of your logo that you have. So I'm going to use this logo that I have. You can of course use any logo that you have. Place the logo comp right over here. So when it ends, almost about to end, or hit just like so. Okay, and let's hit S, bring down the logo size. I can add a fill on this logo. And give it a nice orange color. Perfect. Let's go with actually 60. And basically we can add a simple scale animation to this. So hit S, create a keyframe, go back and set this to around 15. Select the keyframe, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, go into the graph editor, and I'm gonna just pull this handle to the left. So we have this really nice and simple reveal. So that is looking pretty nice, but as you can see, this is still flat. We need to give it a 3D dimension. So to do that, I'm going to select all the circles except the dot com background and the logo com. Turn them 3D into a 3D layer. Hit Ctrl Shift H so you can see all the control layers if you want to. Right click and create a new camera. I'm going to go with 50 millimeters. Hit OK. Let's also create a new null object. So create a new null object. Align this into the center. You can also hit Control and double click on the span behind tool, which is going to move the anchor point into the center, and then you can align this null into the center, make it 3D. Also right click, go into columns, parent and link, and parent the camera to our null object so we can control the camera using a null. I can hit enter, call this cam control, and now I'm going to give it a nice angle so that it looks a bit more cooler. So let's select the null object, hit R. Let's bring up the Y rotation to around 45 degrees. Let's move the X rotation to around 25 degrees, and Z rotation is looking good, so we don't need to mess that up. And there we go. Let's hit Ctrl Shift H, but still it's looking flat. So now what I can do is you can just select the layers, hit Ctrl Shift H again, maybe hit P, and you can position them into the Z dimension. So I can just select the circle, maybe hit P, place this on the top a bit. Maybe I'll also duplicate this again, hit Ctrl D, hit U, and I'll go right over here, maybe bring that down a bit, something like that, and bring down the size to 5. Let's hit R and rotate it into a different direction so we have a bit more depth, as you can see, and already it's looking pretty cool. Maybe I'll select the small circle that we have, that is this one, hit P, and let's bring that a bit up. Okay, so that is looking pretty nice right off the bat. Let's add some depth to the scene. So I can select the camera. Let's bring that down. Bring down the camera options. Turn on depth of field. Let's increase the aperture to 200 and the blur to around 350. So you can see we get this really nice depth. And that is actually looking very, very nice. Now maybe bring down the blur a bit to around 300. And then what I can do is animate the position and the rotation of our camera. So where it starts to animate out, I want to rotate this. So maybe around 3 seconds should work. So I'm going to select the cam control layer, hit P, hit R, and create a keyframe on the X and Y. Go to 4 seconds and let's bring them back to 0. So we have, something like that. Now obviously I can select the keyframes, right click, keyframe assistant, and easy ease them. So there we go. There we have our complete animation. Let's preview this really quick. Also a few things that you should take a note of. Maybe first of all, let's change this background color a bit lighter. Okay. Firstly, change this to 16 bits. So hold Alt and click on this to jump to 16 bits. So this is going to help us to give it some very nice glows, as you can see. Also, you can create a new adjustment layer. I'm just going to call this N for noise. Go into effects and preset, type in noise, double click to apply the noise, maybe a bit like 3%. So this is going to help us to avoid any kind of color bendings. And that is it. And boom, there we go. There we have a cool, simple HUD logo animation. I hope this was now I know this was a very long tutorial, much more like a small short course, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. You are still here with me, and yeah, I hope you learned something new today. So that is a wrap for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please do subscribe to the channel, comment down below and let me know. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care and always stay raw, stay creative. Peace out.